The asking price of the lot that I'm currently standing on was $420,000. Had I not done my due diligence on the front end and just bought this lot, that would have been almost a $500,000 beachfront volleyball court that I could not have done anything with. So no matter if you're going to build a piling house on the beach, a cottage in the woods, or your forever home in a field, if you're not building in a subdivision that is pre-planned, there is a lot to learn when choosing a lot. You see what I did there? On this episode of Texas Coastal Construction. My name is Jason. I'm the owner of SELA Coastal Homes. I'm a custom home builder here on the upper coast of Texas. I just bought this lot to build a brand new spec home for resale. But why did I pick this lot? One of the first things to consider is price and location. Not every lot, location, or city costs the same to build. This might seem like common sense, but you always want to have a general idea of your overall budget to build the entire project and the price to build the house. So you always want to make sure that everything is in alignment, and it's always a good idea to contact a builder before closing and finalizing any purchase on a lot that you intend to build on in the future. One of the most critical things to consider before finalizing a purchase on a lot is utilities. The lot I'm standing on is an excellent example of this. It had everything I was looking for. It was wide, so I was able to subdivide it. It was beachfront. It was a high elevation. This was the perfect lot. But after doing my due diligence, I called the water department, and it turns out there's a water shortage on the island, so I would not be able to get a water meter on this lot for a couple years, possibly. Some questions to consider for your water. Is water available through the public service? If it is the water potable, meaning is it able to be drank? If not, do I require an RO system? Does this lot require a well? If so, how deep do I need to drill my well? These are all things that add up to the overall cost of the house and things that you must know before purchasing a lot. Some questions for your sewer. Is sewer available? If so, am I able to connect? How much does it cost to connect? Is there a monthly fee for my connection? If so, how much does that cost? Does this lot require? If not, then I need to get in a septic. Well, then you need to figure out how many bedrooms that you need, because then you have a specific square footage that you need for your septic system, which could cut into the overall square footage that you have for a house. I'll go over that in greater detail later. You want to have the same questions with gas or propane, even electric. Is electric available? If so, do I need to upgrade my service? Meaning, do I need to install a power pole or possibly a transformer? If you do, these costs could be given to you, the builder, and not covered by the electric company. The asking price of the lot that I'm currently standing on was $420,000. Had I not done my due diligence on the front end and just bought this lot, that would have been almost a $500,000 beachfront volleyball court that I could not have done anything with. Always, always, always double and triple check to make sure all of your utilities are available. Another important thing to consider is lot elevation and flood zone. Look how low it is compared to its neighbors. Once all this concrete is removed, we would have to bring in 40, 50, maybe even 60 loads and get a drainage permit just to bring us up, even with the street or even with our neighbors. That's an extra $20,000 to maybe $30,000 in cost. So another really important thing to consider along with the elevation is the flood zone of the lot that you are buying. Whether you are in an X shaded, an X unshaded, an A, an AE, an AO, and a V, a VE, it makes a huge difference on the elevation of your house. And the elevation directly impacts the cost of construction. Obviously, the higher the house is in the air, the more it's going to cost. The last thing you want to do is buy a lot thinking you're going to build a slab house and only to find out, come permitting, that the house needs to be 4, 5, or 6 foot up in the air. That completely changes everything with how your house is going to be built and the cost of construction. You can learn a lot about the lot by searching FEMA flood zone maps, or you can also see if the lot has what is called an elevation certificate. This will be supplied by any survey company. On the elevation certificate, it'll tell you specifically what flood zone that particular lot is in. This way you know before purchasing what type of house or need to build on that particular lot, and whether or not how much dirt you're going to need to bring in, if you're allowed to bring in any dirt at all, or how high that house needs to be above your base flood elevation. Another flood zone example is the lot that I'm standing here right now in Crystal Beach. This lot is actually in what is called a COBRA flood zone. COBRA stands for Coastal Barrier Resources Systems Area. Essentially, FEMA designated this land as a coastal barrier, not as a place to build houses on. But land is becoming more and more scarce, so builders are buying these lots anyway and developing them, even though it has this COBRA flood designation. But what's important to know for you is that if you buy a lot or intend to build on a lot that is designated COBRA, you cannot get traditional FEMA insurance on that lot. You must get it through a public insurance company or a private insurance company, which means depending on the amount you need to borrow, your insurance will be significantly higher because it doesn't go on the overall price of the house. It goes on based on the amount of your loan. Another thing you need to consider is setbacks and easements. To the naked eye, you can look at a large corner lot like what this lot is and think, I got all kind of room. I can build this huge, ginormous house on this lot. An easement is an area set by the municipality that cannot be built on because that area is reserved for utilities. And a setback is often determined by either a city or an HOA, and that is just build lines in between houses, so that way you can't put house after house after house right on top of one another. Some places have very, very small setbacks. Other places have very large setbacks. But the only way to find out about setbacks and easements is to get what is called a boundary survey or a title survey. Remember how big this lot was? When I pulled up the boundary survey, look at how much room I am not able to build on. And then to make matters worse, I had to include a septic for a 4-bedroom house. That would have been an additional 450 square feet lost of buildable space. So because of the aggressive easements and setbacks, what I thought I could build this big giant house on this lot, it turns out the house was going to have to be significantly smaller. So I decided to pass on this lot. So it's always important to get a boundary survey or a title survey before finalizing a purchase on any lot. Another important thing to consider when buying a lot is to make sure that the title for the lot and the land is clear. Make sure there's no liens or judgments against the lot or the landowner. You would think that the title company would automatically do this, but it's important to reach out to your title company and make them check before closing, because sometimes they are not as specific and don't do the background for a lot that they would for a house. So that's just a few things to consider if you ever want to buy a lot like this. Whether it be on the coast, whether it be in the woods, whether it be a field in the middle of nowhere. It is really important to check your utilities, check your elevation, check your flood zones, and make sure there's no liens or judgments or anything against your property. So again, my name's Jason. My company is SELA Coastal Homes, and if you need help to build a house all up and down the upper Texas coast, we do anything. We can even help you find a lot, and we take care of every step of the building process. So until then, we'll catch you on the next episode of Texas Coastal Construction. Y'all have a blessed day.